3. This family consisted only of a mother and her son. Walter was hit by a car in town 2 years ago. He held on just long enough to demand compensation before passing away. That money bought me. In other words, his father gave his life for me. I learned this after my first escape attempt. Boris's mom followed me around all day. No one in the village would speak to me, and I couldn't go near the entrance. Whenever I got close, she'd drag me back home. The landline at home had been disconnected for a long time. Only Boris had an old-fashioned cell phone, which he kept with him almost around the clock. The village council and the general store had telephones, but they were monitored during the day and locked away at night. As Boris's leg gradually healed, I still hadn't figured out a way to escape. So, I decided to follow Luna's lead, a desperate escape. And so I ended up the same way. Except for the foot shackles, I also learned about his father. The night I was caught, Boris couldn't wait to plant his seed. The pain from my wounds blended with the agony below, and I screamed desperately, letting the whole village know of Boris's prowess. Boris was clearly pleased, so I wasn't stripped naked and thrown onto the heated brick bed as punishment for escaping. But the wounds from the beating kept reopening, staining the entire mattress with blood. I begged Boris to get me some medicine, but he just tossed me a paper packet. Our cow gets this when it's in heat. You're not more important than a cow. Before I could recover, the mother-in-law, in the outer room, heard the commotion, rushed in, and snatched the medicine away. Just tough it out. You won't die. I turned away, overwhelmed by a suffocating sense of helplessness. Tears soaked into the dried blood on the mattress, making the crimson stain even more glaring. In addition to enduring Boris's demands, I had to wash clothes, cook, and clean the barn every day. While cooking, his mother would tirelessly chop the vegetables and then put the knife away. The sickles and hoes at home were also kept locked up separately. They were afraid I might get any bad ideas. I've been handling household chores since I was young, and with just the 3 of us now, it's even easier than before. Aside from that escape attempt and resisting during my period, I hadn't been beaten for anything else. But Luna wasn't as lucky as I was. I heard Luna didn't even know how to mix feed for the pigs and was locked directly in the pigsty. What's more, in hopes of having a child sooner, the 2 brothers in her family took turns with her. I could even hear her heart-wrenching screams during the day. Boris's mom would always tell me about her with an indifferent expression. Every time she told me these things, I would pretend to be obedient. Mom, don't worry, I won't be like that. To be honest, I had long since abandoned any sense of propriety or shame. My chastity meant nothing to me now. I call Boris, my husband, and his mother, Mom. People often say, "You really got your lucky break with this daughter-in-law." But they still wouldn't let me leave. First, they were afraid I'd run away. Second, there were too many single men in the village, and they didn't want to end up raising another man's child. I tracked my ovulation cycle and made sure to handle manure or clean the barn on those days, covering myself in dirt so Boris would lose interest. After all, as long as I didn't run, there was plenty of time. He wasn't in a hurry. If I absolutely had no other choice, I would wait until he was sound asleep before desperately relieving myself, sometimes even sitting on the chamber pot until daybreak. So, after more than half a year, I still hadn't gotten pregnant. People in the village said he was all bark and no bite. Furious, he dragged me onto the heated bed in broad daylight. Since I couldn't avoid it this time, I came up with another plan. Boris, don't listen to their nonsense. Back in my hometown, there's a belief that after parents pass away, they watch over the household for 3 years to keep evil spirits from entering. I gently stroked his chest and spoke softly. Think about it. In recent years, everyone in the village who passed away did so violently. Those are evil spirits. Dad must be watching over us. Pillow talk is the most persuasive, and mountain folks tend to be superstitious. In just 2 nights, Boris was completely convinced. He even got into a fight with a villager, claiming the child in his wife's womb was an evil spirit reborn. It's so easy to fool the ignorant. This village places excessive importance on sons over daughters. Even their own daughters are married off at 16 or 17 to bear children for other families. The resulting physical and psychological strain ensures that most women here die young, leaving more and more men in the village unable to find wives. Strangely, few of them ever chose to leave, not even to work in the nearby town. In this isolated environment, the distortion of human nature was laid bare. They had no concept of crime. Women and children were treated merely as tools or playthings in the household, discarded if broken or dead. The cruelest part was that the older women, having endured their own suffering, would inflict even worse torment on their daughters-in-law. Hatred piled upon hatred until people's hearts grew utterly dark. The fact that Boris's father's life had been exchanged for money spent on me kept me in a state of constant fear. At first, I thought it would lead to even more beatings. But later, I realized they seemed to believe that if I died, the money would be wasted. Walter's death would have been in vain. As long as I complied, Boris and his mother didn't give me too much trouble. Gradually, through my persistent efforts, Boris began to ease his control over me. Occasionally, when he returned from town, he would even bring me a few new pieces of clothing. Still, I couldn't leave the village or access a telephone. But at least Boris's mom no longer shadowed my every move.